Hey, I'm Professor Kobe, and as we're all adjusting to our whole new world of learning online, I wanted to pull from other areas in higher education to see if we could learn some new tips and tricks as we adjust to becoming online students. That's why today we're going to have a conversation with the University of California Riverside's head softball coach, Nikki Palmer, as she tells us a little about her own educational background and her success online, as well as the tips and tricks her student athletes use as they've been balancing so many different things as student athletes. So let's jump on in and have a chat. Hi. First and foremost, we want to give a big thank you and welcome to Coach Nikki Palmer of UC Riverside. Coach Palmer is joining us here to talk about her experience with student athletes and her own education. A little background on Coach Palmer before we get into our chat. She has a bachelor's from UC San Diego, where she was also a four-year starter as a softball player. She has a master's from National University, right, in teaching in a multicultural classroom. Awesome. And is coached for, I have here, 13 seasons at multiple universities. You've been with UCR for going on 5 years now?
Going on, yeah.
Going on 5. Wow. And you were the first for UCR softball to go to the postseason. Is that correct too?
Correct.
Awesome. So we're excited to have your insight. Thanks again for joining me in my virtual office here. You can see yours is just as fancy. It's a great banner you have in the background. Gorgeous. Yes, very nice. But it took a while to get that on the wall.
Yes.
So Coach Palmer, first thing we want to know is, what did you learn as a student athlete? So think back when you were in college. What were some of the things that you really think helped benefit your academic success?
Sure. I think that, number one, always most important is time management and making sure that you're always being accountable for your time, whether that's within your sport or within the classroom. I think that being organized is a big piece of that as well. Really have to kind of become mature and create some good organizational skills and time management to be able to do everything you want to do in a day, because it can pile up. Your scheduling, which sort of touches on discipline, self-discipline, which kind of translates from athletics and into academics and vice versa.
Awesome. Well, you've obviously perfected that. So what else would you say as well in your academic experience is relevant to this current educational climate as we've all moved to distance learning?
Sure. I did my master's degree online, so a lot of what I learned within that is helping with coaching and mentoring my student athletes during this time. Obviously, that was a long time ago, so many of the things are not as relevant as they used to be, but, creating checklists has really been beneficial. I think that's a big piece. And, just having an understanding and a little bit of grace for what's going on.
That's great. That's super helpful. I think we could all use a little grace as we adjust to distance education. Well, so let's talk more about your current student athletes. What would you say is the most important thing for your student athletes to do from an academic perspective? And how can students who aren't athletes balance their stuff as well?
For our student athletes and those sort of across the country at all different levels, the most important thing is going to be for them to use their resources that are given to them. Everybody's are different institutions and different levels, but pretty unanimous across the board is consistency of help somewhere within the athletic department. I know personally for UC Riverside, we do a phenomenal job with our academic advisors, and top down from administration, everybody really wants to help, especially during this time. I've seen some really great outreach and assistance to create a network of mentors to help them stay on task. And, tutoring that's typically available for them in person, that's really important to utilize, and now much of that is available online. So tutoring, we always say, is important, and it's not for those that are not as smart, to put it nicely. We say get to tutoring before you have to hit the panic button, because it's free and it's helpful, and the smartest student athletes will use those free resources that are available to them.
That's great. Yeah. What I'm hearing too is those that are the most successful are the ones who are already taking advantage of those resources. And that's not like, oh, I want to be successful, now I should do them. It's, I am successful, I'm going to keep attending free tutoring, which nearly every single college has, whether or not you're an athlete. Has opportunities for guidance. So that's your counseling department. You guys have great advisors through the student athlete programs. I think all college students can. That's great. Thank you. So maybe this is blending into that a little bit, but what would you say your most academically successful athletes have in common?
Sure. A strong motivation and again, time management and organization skills, just keep coming back to that. You know, a passion for what you do, right? So you see this a lot within athletics where, you know, the passion is fueled by the parents, and maybe that doesn't translate when they get to a top tier level or program because of the work that's affiliated with it that's required of them once they get here, and the time management piece and scheduling. Not only are they a student, but they're also an athlete, and so they have to balance all of that. So a passion for what they do, and I think that translates into academics with just, you know, selecting a major that you care about, that you're passionate about. So, you know, when you have to do things that you don't love, you will still do it because it's ultimately something you care about and are passionate about. We talk about the game, being married to the game. In a marriage, every day is not rainbows and butterflies. Some days are hard. You can push through that hard a lot when you have a common goal and something that you really truly care about.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I like that advice too. We're no longer doing this, you know, to please other people. You're doing this for that common goal. What is your interest? What major are you selecting? That even if one or two of the classes or subjects in a class that, you know, isn't lining up, isn't something you love, ultimately leads you to your goal. So keeping that passion, loving that end goal. That's great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into another question here. You mentioned time management. How can you give us a little more specifics on how your student athletes balance all of their different commitments? So they have school, they have sport, they have family, they have summer working. You know, so many college students are balancing so many different things they're involved in. How do yours balance that, and how do you support them on that?
So, yeah, I mean, I won't speak completely for them. This is my observation looking in, is that they find a way to kind of capitalize on their downtime. There's not a lot of that, but if you create the precedence of your priority list of, okay, I've got this homework that's due now, or I've got this paper I have to write or study for this test, or I really need to also get my extra reps for hitting or defense every day, you can kind of set your precedence in order of what you want to do there. When you also have to fill in sort of family time, you know, it's capitalizing on that downtime. So if you can get everything done, then they can have some time with their family, or they can have their family time while they're trying to attack other portions of that priority list. I think too, understanding, you know, what's needed and most valuable on an everyday basis is big. And once they have a good grasp of that, they're able to sort of fill in the gaps there and find motivation to do that. I think the hard part comes when they're just kind of lost and not sure how to do that. And I know that's a big transition for freshmen, but it's something they learn and adapt to as they go, again, fueled by that passion. So
it's fantastic. Yeah, I like that, taking advantage of all those different pieces of time, that downtime. I didn't hear you say go on social media all day in there.
That's happening no matter what. Can't stop that.
Awesome. All right. So our next question, this might be helpful for all of our students out there, is what systems do you think are in place that would be most helpful for students to avoid burnout? So again, your athletes are committed to so many different things. What are they doing to help keep themselves mentally strong and avoid that sort of burnout?
I think that they really have to understand their why and why they're doing something. And most of the time, the easy answer for them, because I hear it all the time, is, well, it's because I love it. Okay, that's great. So if you do love it, then you would do anything for it, right? And so that can help with the burnout because it's sort of can become repetitive. I think that this COVID-19 has really changed and flipped perspective. I think for generations to come of athletes specifically, every day matters. You know, any game could be your last, and they feel that, know that, and that messaging will trickle down, you know, but for a normal everyday student, I would say, you know, make sure that you're scheduling the courses and classes that are of most interest to you, that are taught by professors that motivate you and help inspire you. And, you know, even in your general courses, that you can continue to have some motivation within yourself towards that, because anytime you're fueled by passion, you can help to avoid burnout.
Yeah, so getting invested. Absolutely. That's fantastic. That passion, that commitment is what'll drive our students in, no matter what it is that they're passionate about or invested in. So let's close out with our last question. For any students watching this, whether they're an athlete or not, whether they're fully online or transitioning in some ways, what would be your top tips for any university student during this crazy time right now?
The big one that I keep pushing on my players is to have a checklist. I think something that's written out, not just an app, not just an Excel sheet, but physically print it out or write it down or put it on a marker board or something that you can physically with some sort of a writing device.
I like glitter pens. Shout out to glitter pens everywhere.
To just put a check in the box. Did I respond to that discussion? Did I post on that? You know, that you can physically put a check in the box weekly to say that you did those things. I think the biggest problem, our progress reports are starting to roll out, and some of the issues are so simple of missed 2 discussion responses or what have you. And those can be avoided, with a checklist. It's tedious, it's annoying, but if you have that, you have it in your workspace where you're doing all of your academics, then you will see that every day. You can put it on the wall, put it on the desk, doesn't matter. I think that, and just staying positive as much as possible. It's very difficult, but continue to surround yourself with the people that are your cohort, that are your community. For us, call it our family, our team. We want to make sure that we're still staying connected. It's easy to just be like, I'm just going to watch Netflix all day and do the bare minimum. But it's important for us, we're social creatures, to stay connected with the people that matter. So I think that's a big piece of it. And then just give yourself some grace. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're having a day where just really not feeling like doing any work and nothing's really due that day, then it's okay. Just know that you got to work hard the next day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love those points there. Working on a checklist and a physical one, actually committing to it, having grace with yourself, staying positive, staying connected virtually. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time, Coach Palmer. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Good luck as you and your student athletes close out the semester, and hopefully best of luck next year. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Ours up.